I created a friendship with Jeff Porcaro because he came super early to every session. I came early to every session because I was scared to death and I wanted to make sure my gear was working and wasn't buzzing. So for an 11 a.m. session in Hollywood, he and I would be the only two people in the room at 9 a.m. Something happened to me. I did a short tour with Al Jarreau, and I always loved Al Jarreau because I wanted to be that guy. That was another real reach. I kind of was a little underqualified for that, but I did it. 10-day tour with Al Jarreau, and Jeff Porcaro called me and said, "I want you to be the guitar player on my first production. I'm producing Boss Skaggs, and I want you to play guitar on it." And I couldn't do it because I was on the road, and it broke my heart. And because Jeff and I, I'll wrap this up, but I created a friendship with Jeff Porcaro because he came super early to every session because he lived in Hidden Hills. He wanted to beat the traffic and just show up and relax. I came early to every session because I was scared to death and I wanted to make sure my gear was working and wasn't buzzing. So for an 11 a.m. session in Hollywood, he and I would be the only two people in the room at 9 a.m. and we would start jamming. And we became friends from showing up early before sessions. And so it was at that moment that I realized I am never going to go on the road again. And even I did a Phil Collins record that was just so great. The first day I worked with him, and he asked me to go on the road. At that moment, I just laughed, just like, this is what I do, not that,
Anything that you could take away that you could tell a drummer about Jeff Porcaro's playing that to just do or pay attention to, or was he just such a natural and did it just come so easily to him, did it seem like?
Well, everybody had their voice at that point. And even to this day, if you solo a Matt Chamberlain drum track or a Victor Indrizzo drum track or a Vinnie Colaiuta drum track, Aaron Sterling, what you hear is unique and individual and crazy. You hear things that you don't hear in the full production because they disappeared. All these little clocks going, all these extra little ghost notes. It's amazing. And Jeff had his own version of that. But Jeff knew that, and this even happened one night. So Jeff was elegant, understated, played for the song, didn't do too many takes, and had a beautiful feel, okay? It was like fine wine, okay? But he also knew that sometimes there were other drummers who were better for the session. And then indeed, one night I was doing a film date, and it was one that I could read because the composer was on my side and a friend of mine. And Jeff was scheduled for the date, and driving back to Hidden Hills, he called Benny and said, "You got to do this for me. I'm tired. I worked all day with Herb Alpert." And so unannounced, Vinnie Colaiuta shows up 5 minutes before the downbeat, and the composer's going, "Well, I can't really complain. I was expecting Jeff to show up, but okay." And Vinnie, of course, aced it. But Jeff actually, if he got called for a certain kind of music, he would recommend John Robinson or Vinnie instead, if he felt like Jeff really, really wanted to be comfortable and speak his language. What I'm trying to say is he was the icon. He was the fine wine. But he also knew that he was part of a collective of, at that time there were 5 or 6 guys. Mike Baird was one of them too. He doesn't get talked about a lot. There were a lot of records in the 80s where half the record was Mike Baird and half the record was Jeff Porcaro. So he knew that he was surrounded by his buddies who could do it also and they were all so unique. You would think that drums wouldn't be that way, but you know as well as I do, you solo a drummer's track and everybody's so unique, and Jeff was unique.
Right. Wait, so you guys, the two of you guys would be in these sessions before anyone else, and you would do what? You would just play like a funk chord, like an E9 or what?
Two chords. I'd start warming up and he'd start, it's like, I would like 2 chords, 3 chords, whatever, an outro. It'd be like the vamp we just could do vamps forever. I'd be playing, funk, rock, whatever came out of my guitar, whatever beat he was playing. I would play to his beat or he would play to my guitar part. That was awesome. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Wait, and he meant something to you at that time, or like, did he feel like a peer, or did he feel a little bit like in a class above?
Well, both. I spent my whole career feeling that way, because I never had, my only training was 2 years. So once a week for a half hour for 2 years from age 12 to 14, I would take a guitar lesson from a guy named Steve Mays in Albuquerque. So if we add up those half hours, that's 26 hours. That's 52 hours over 2 years is my entire musical training. I had no training. And every session I showed up in, there were university, graduate level, conservatory level people all around me. And so I never felt like it was an equal, but I did work, I knew that I played from the heart, and I knew I would try really hard, and I knew I was there for a reason. So I dealt with it. But yeah, but part of the pleasure of being in the room with Phil Collins or Jeff Porcaro or any of the artists I worked with is you go, okay, I was in Albuquerque looking at this name on a vinyl record going, this is my favorite song I've ever heard. That's my favorite artist. And now I'm in a room with that person. So there is an insecure side to it, but there's an actual dream come true side to it too, right? So, it was a dream come true. I couldn't believe I was sitting there with Jeff jamming, and then he would recommend me for stuff after that. And like I said, he was going to do his Boss Skaggs record, his first production as a producer. And I couldn't do it because I was on the road with Giroux. So, he valued what I did enough to ask me to do that. But he's just a sweet guy.